Hello, everyone. You're listening to How We Heal, the podcast. I'm Kira Noel, medical intuitive, your host. Our sponsor is themedicinebuddhawithin.com. Intuitive training for all. Check out the website and register and be invited to all the upcoming trainings. Now let's begin our show. Welcome to How We Heal, the podcast. I'm Kira Noel, your host. Today, my guest is Sue Pelletier, and I'm now going to find out if I said that correctly, because before we started, she is an artist, a visionary, a woman living life the way she has chosen to live it. I had just visited where she lives, and what a part of the world. Wow. And I'm so glad she agreed to do this today and share with us. Every time I watch her on her Instagram, I just smile. I do. So thank you, Sue, for being here today. And now you please correct me. Did I say your last name correctly?
Well, thanks for having me. And you said it correctly for somebody who's, had a messy divorce. So it's Pelletier, but Pelletier sounds a little bit better. So we can go with that.
Thank you. So tell us, the point of the podcast is to share with our audience how you got to be who you are in the world and bring the view of life that you have. And that's sort of an open question, so you can take it anywhere you'd like, and I'm really looking forward to listening.
Okay, so I thought about the question, and I think that the way I view the world now and sort of how I live my life now is part of a journey that started several years ago. Like many women my age or older or younger, little bit younger maybe, I kind of did everything that I wanted to do and at the time felt like that was the path my life was taking me. For instance, I got married and I had children. I loved being a mother. I'm not saying anything about it was joyful. I had the house with the swimming pool, with the bouncy houses, the dogs, people's dogs could come over. I loved that part of my life. But then my marriage failed and it was a really awful divorce. And that sort of spun me out of control quite a bit because I realized that sort of dream of the white picket fence, which is what I wanted. I wanted that and I had it. But I started realizing, well, maybe I can't continue this way. So the marriage failed and the marriage was a messy divorce, as many women seem to have, and men for that reason. And what I did was I had practically a nervous breakdown, first of all. And then second of all, I needed to sell the house that I raised my children in, which was very difficult. And I had to move into a smaller condominium. My kids at this point were in college. And life continued. I was an art teacher for 32 years in Dover, Mass. And I was working and I was moving forward with my life past the divorce. And then what happened to me is I was diagnosed at 55 with breast cancer. And the breast cancer diagnosis threw me for a loop. Not only for my children and my life that I was, I was a single mom at the time. I was worried about my children, as we all would be in such a situation. But in the back of my head, what I was thinking when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, my first thought was my kids. My second thought was literally, I have not done everything that I want to do, because what I've been doing is what I wanted to do at the time, but was expected of me. I was a wonderful mother. I had pets. But what I really, really wanted to do, I didn't really get to do it. And at the time, I didn't even know what that was. But when you're diagnosed with breast cancer, or most likely any disease or something that's going to change your life and the way you view life, I realized at that point, in about, 4 months into my treatment, that I needed to sort of put my big girl panties on And I needed to reinvent my life so that it now was going to be about me, not about everybody else. Still, of course, the children are my first and foremost. I mean, they're adults. They're 32 and 31. I call them adult children. So I got through the cancer diagnosis. COVID hit us. I moved into a friend had a big Victorian in Massachusetts with an apartment. And she said, come move here and sort of heal and get yourself going. I went back to work for a little bit and then COVID hit and I was not working for 2 years. I was working remotely. So COVID hit and the next year I got a note from my oncologist that said, needed to work remotely for another year because at the time, that beginning of COVID, really nobody really knew if you
Sure,
were on
sure.
cancer treatment. I'm still taking medication for cancer treatment,
Hmm.
so nobody really knew. So my oncologist, who is the most fabulous doctor I've ever met in my life, Dr. Natalie Sinclair, Dana Farber Institute, and
Good spot.
yeah, she wrote me a note and she said she has to work remote. So unbeknownst to my work in that time, I moved to Vermont and I set up the background just like it was when I was working remote in Massachusetts. So I finished up work. I had been vacationing in Costa Rica for years. I had some friends that had a place down there and they invited me and my kids almost every year for maybe 7 or 8 years. So we had been down there quite a bit. I fell in love with the people of Costa Rica. I fell in love with the lifestyle of Costa Rica. I fell in love with the pura vida of Costa Rica, which
Now
is
tell the listeners, what is Pura Vida?
so pura vida. It means many things, but what it particularly means is a simple life. And
Mhm.
after all of this going on in my life, that's what I realized I needed and wanted was a very simple life. And I was not able to achieve that in the United States because I just wasn't. I mean, I needed a total change. I needed a 360. I needed to move it
Wow.
around. So I flew down to Costa Rica by myself. I mean, but again, I had been there several times and I did an Airbnb for about 4 months and I kept looking and looking in different towns, sort of where I had traveled with my friends, where we had stayed. I was looking around that area and I didn't find anything. I mean, I kept looking and in my head, I knew what I wanted. And it wasn't I didn't want to be, surrounded by people. I didn't want to just be in the US, but in Costa Rica. I wanted to be in Costa Rica. So I looked for 4 months and over those 4 months, I had befriended a great guy named Brian Rogers he's my neighbor actually. And he owns Island Golf Carts and he had gone to Costa Rica, the same area about 10 years before me. He's Canadian and he never left. He just said, I'm staying here. And he opened up a
I
golf
get it.
cart business. He opened up a golf cart business. And when
Wow.
I met him, when you meet people and you instantly click, we instantly clicked. He's way younger than me. We just really wonderful friends. And so I couldn't find anything. I looked at maybe 6 or 7 properties, but nothing was perfecto to me. And Brian was coming. I was flying out in 2 days to come back to the States and kind of rethinking it. And Brian was picking up the golf cart that I rented from him. And I knew that he lived in a little town called Alcatel, which it's a little fishing village. And it's about a 10-minute golf cart ride from the town of Playa del Coco, which is where his business is. And when he picked up the golf cart, I said, Brian, you live in Alcatel. Tell me about it because I had been looking in Coco and I just felt like there was too many expats. Not that there's anything wrong with expats, but I wanted to sort of immerse myself a little bit more.
Mhm.
I like that particular area because a lot of locals live around. I'm friends with locals. I work
Sure.
with
You wanna be
locals.
part of the culture.
I
Yeah.
wanted to be part of the culture. Exactly. So he said to me, actually, there's a place for sale next to me. And I said, can you call that person and see if I can look at it the next day, the day before I was flying out? So I went and looked at the place and I didn't even walk inside. I walked down this path and I saw this garden jungle that was probably 40 feet by 30 feet with a patio that was my space.
Wow.
Realized that's what I was looking for. I
That's
wanted
very
the
nice. Yeah.
outside space to be as fabulous as the inside space. So I actually didn't step foot in the condo and I told the guy I was buying it. I said, sold. I'm going to buy this condo. And he's like, well, you want to come in and see it? I said, yeah. And I went in and it was just, I mean, it was, nothing. It's not fancy. It's two bedrooms. It's one bath. It's got extremely high ceilings. And now that I've put my spin on it, it's got a lot of character, but it's 200 meters to Alcatel Beach, the little fishing village beach, which is a black volcanic sand beach. And
Gorgeous.
if I'm washing my dishes at my window, I look out and that's what I see. So
Amazing.
it was after COVID. I mean, can I say what I paid for it?
Yes, because I want people to know the difference between the US and Costa Rica. Sure.
Okay, so for Costa Rica, I said, I'm going to buy this. How much is it? It was $181,000 cash. Now you have to realize I'm 200 meters from the ocean, a beautiful ocean. I go snorkeling. I take my golf cart. I drive into town for 7 minutes and I can go to medical, groceries, whatever. And I fell in love with it and I bought it. And I would say that that's price was set right after COVID and it wasn't on the market yet. So I would say to anybody, if they were interested in moving to another country, to get down there for 5 or 6 months and ask everybody you meet if you know of
Yeah.
any place
Yeah.
be for sale, because they weren't going to list this place till January and it was August. So I got it months before.
You make
And so
friends and your friends turn you on to the good real estate.
yeah, I mean, you meet the right people, and I believe my friendship with my friend Brian. Every time I see him, I'm like, we were meant to meet because, we're
Yes.
great neighbors. We both, raised money for monkey bridges and, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. But I feel like I knew right away that that was the place for me because it was very private. It is a gated community. It is a condo, but I'm in a separate, like it's a little bungalow. So the condos aren't attached. They're separate ones.
That's
And
beautiful.
mine is one of the smallest, but honestly, I wanted one floor living. I'm not getting any younger. And I just wanted the simplicity of waking up, having my coffee, opening the door and listening to the
Beach, right.
birds
And
and,
the
and
birds.
looking at the
Yeah.
beach.
That's
So
Costa
that's
Rica. Yeah.
pretty much what I did. And I came back and I said to my kids, I think I just bought a place in Costa Rica. And they were like, what do you mean you think? I'm like, I don't know. I put $500 down, but it just seems the way things are done in Costa Rica. Like it's so different.
And did
I
you then go to a closing or there is no close? You
No, I ended up actually, this is common in Costa Rica, is I use the seller's same lawyer. That's different than the States. And we agreed on a price that 181, which I mean, my budget, I wanted to be under 200, so that I knew that I was going to have to get a car or a golf cart or something. And I was comfortable with under 200. And so I bought it and I went down there for 2 weeks after I bought it. A couple months later, all the transactions were done online. And, I held my breath when transferred $180,000 to, the Bank of Costa Rica. But I had to give my faith. I had to give
you're
my faith,
brave.
right, that people were being honest with me. And I can
Well,
get
and
that vibe.
your friend brought you to the property, so,
Right,
you
and you're
know
intuitive and I'm intuitive with people. Like I get a vibe from
thank
people
you. Thank you
and
for
I
telling us.
feel like my vibe was good with everybody that I was dealing with. So I
That's
just said,
great.
you know what, if this is the way they do it in Costa Rica, that's the way I'm going to do it. So I moved down there and I was by myself and I had originally started doing TikToks and it's funny
Oh, I
because
didn't know you were on TikTok.
I
Is
was
that
for about 3 years. My first TikTok video was me sitting in one of Brian's golf cart in a parking lot. And I said, I moved to Costa Rica. Do I know what I'm doing? Fuck no. Am I going to figure it out? Fuck yeah. And at the time I said, I got a haircut down here and I bought something on Facebook Marketplace. So I think I can do this. And that got 2.5 million hits. I immediately had to learn how to do TikTok because I didn't know how to do it. And I was like, oh my God, people want to hear this story. So then I did that.
So,
And
Sue, is your TikTok still available to view the old TikToks?
no, somebody hacked me, deleted everything. And
Of
I
course,
just,
that's
you know
TikTok.
what? Again, and honestly, TikTok at the time, they were pulling down anything that was sort of a little political or a little, they were taking stuff down. So I think at the time that I stopped TikTok, I think I had 2 bans on me, 1 more, and I was going to be out anyways. And then I just
That's
switched
it. Yeah,
to,
it's 3 strikes and they take you off. Right.
I had
I've
2.
heard.
I had 2, one from a Vermont parade in Brattleboro last summer, and I was like, "Seriously?" Like, people carrying their signs and, it was like Friends of the Library, like, and
They
it
took it
got
down.
political and TikTok took it down, so and
So
then I went
I'm
to
I mean,
Instagram.
your my audience already kind of figures out, I'm guessing, that you have 2 children, you got divorced at a certain, you got diagnosed with breast cancer, and
Yes.
you gave us your age, so now here we are at 10, almost 10 years later since you were diagnosed?
It's gosh, I feel like I have to be on the medication for 2 more years, so I'd say more I got my dates wrong, maybe like 8 or 9 years ago.
Well, 8 or 9. So here you are, and I this year only decided, "What is TikTok?" And I said, "Let me see." And I went, it was crazy.
Yeah.
For months, I went on just to see who's on there. Why are people, and I thought of it kind of only young people, but it's not. It's everybody. You know, Mary Trump is on there, so now you know my politics. And Jane Fonda goes on there, and on and on. And Barack Obama, and also I'm sure the people I don't want to listen to. So you went on, and then you started, and at this age, I think, at least I find people my age, and we're about the same age, I'm a little older, they kind of look at that and go, "Why are you doing that? It's crazy." But I think it's so interesting. Did you
Well,
find
I
it
mean,
interesting?
I'll tell you exactly why I did it, because I
Yeah,
moved to a different country by myself, and I can very easily isolate. I'm an artist. I can, sit and play around with paper and collage stuff, or I can get out there and I can meet people and I can do new experiences. So the platform of social media allowed me to do that in a way that I felt safe going anyplace by myself. And it sort of gave me, not, I don't want to say a purpose because I didn't really have a purpose, but it sort of gave me, okay, well, what would be interesting? And I would go to those places by myself and I would meet people. And then slowly over the years and switching from TikTok to Instagram, I have met so many people, like, just down there that are amazing, and I'm actually right now in Vermont visiting my daughter, and the same thing, I'm doing Instagrams about Vermont, and, Montpelier, Vermont just followed me, and, I've got, like, all these people like, "You're in Vermont now," so,
I
it's
saw that.
yeah, it's kind of it's a creative process for me. I'm still painting, I'm still doing art, but this is a creative outlet to me that I've never done. And that is sort of writing, humor. How do you tell a story in 50 seconds or under? How do you have a
Interesting.
beginning, a middle, and an end?
Mm.
And for me, comedy is huge and humor is huge. So how do you make that so that people are going to get the story, follow through with it and think, "Man, I never thought about that, but she's kinda right?" So I
You're
look at it
very
as a creative outlet for me.
No, it's fantastic. There's
I have
a
this notebook that I put next to my bed, and if I wake up at midnight and think of something, I'll jot it down, and then the next day I'll wake up and write out a little thing. I mean, if you think about our lives, think of everything we've done, it's just like you could take some little story about anything, back in the 70s and the 80s. We all
Yes,
were like feral children running around and like that resonates with people, so I do love telling a story. So
that's fantastic. Well, I found a woman, she's in England, and she's on TikTok. Her name is Great Granny Julie, and she did come on the podcast about 6 months ago. But she has this giant audience because she talks about what I've learned in 70 years as on the planet. Here's my advice." And she gives really good advice. So, yeah, there's a need. And so is anyone else in your family doing anything like you do?
No, I mean, I'd say, my daughter's on social media. She's a massage therapist in Montpelier, Vermont. But I'd say,
Not not your
no.
siblings.
And
Alright.
I no, and I also think one thing about the social media thing and the woman that you just mentioned is you have to 100% be your authentic self. And I don't know how to be anything but my authentic self. So it's unfiltered, it's who I am.
Right.
I do get negative comments and it's funny now because somebody will write a negative comment and like 450 people will respond to the person who wrote the negative comment, be like, "Don't be talking about our Sue like that."
They're protecting you.
So, like I said, it's a creative outlet. And even in Vermont, I'm finding myself as I drive around, I'm like looking at like a mural painted on a brick building, and I'm like, that would be a great shot for like Vermont. You know what I mean? So it's an outlet for me,
That
you know?
sounds fabulous. And when you live in Costa Rica, where you live, tell us what you do. What is your day like? Is it very different from living in the US? Tell
It's
us.
so different. I'm going to tell you what my day is like because to me, it's hysterical. So I have befriended one of my best friends down there is a local. He is the gardener at our complex. His name is Solomon. I call him King Solomon. He's probably 55 years old. He does not speak a lick of English. I don't speak Spanish very well. And he does not read. And because he's from Nicaragua and he had to go to work as a child to put food on the table for his family. And we have just created this friendship that like I never would have met this guy. And so I wake up and in the morning I make a pot of coffee and I put something fairly respectable on. And then I look and, Solomon's like, looking in the door and he sees me and he comes in and I make him a cup of coffee and we, we sit on the couch and we do Google Translate. He does it so that he into Spanish and it speaks into me in English because he can't read. And so I do that back and we have probably a 40-minute, although not to his bosses. We have probably 30-40 minute conversation and that's how I start my day. He's just lovely and we talk about everything that you would talk about with your neighbor. We talk
Lovely.
weather,
Wow.
the price of, pineapples and and then I usually like to go to the beach in the morning and then I'll come back for an hour or so and then I go to my pool at the condominium. There's only 20 units there and like I said there's standalone units so it's not big but we do have a beautiful large pool. And so if you head over to the pool around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it starts like being, social hour. So, then everybody comes out or people that are renting and I just meet so many people,
Well, that's fantastic.
you
Yeah,
know.
and then you have time for your artwork, I guess, right?
I have time for my artwork. I do my artwork, in the morning sometimes. I do it at night. The thing about Costa Rica that not everybody knows is every night year round it gets dark at 6 p.m. So this like getting dark at 9, I'm like ready for bed at 7. Like it just gets dark. So at night you have hours of me being inside. I feel very safe taking my golf cart home at night, but I just honestly prefer to be in my own space in the evening in Vermont
Understandable. Yeah.
where I'm not a big, go out and
You're
I
not
mean I
a
love to go to
late partier, no.
I'm a late partier. I like to go out to dinner. I like to go for lunch. I like to, volunteer down there. I like to do things like that, but I don't necessarily I'm not hitting the bars up. Let's put it that way.
Okay, and what are the favorite animals you are always encountering? What kind
Well,
of
I happen to live, of course, on a monkey trail. So they literally have been on my roof. So the monkeys sleep in the hills behind me, maybe about a mile behind me, and they travel down at about 4 o'clock in the morning because you can hear them. And if you've never heard a howler monkey, the first morning I was like, 'cause they're like, "Woo, woo, 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 woo," and they're that loud. So, at about 4 o'clock in the morning now I don't even hear them, I'm so used to it, I just sleep right through it. They travel down to the beach, and they hang out at the beach in the trees because there's a cool breeze, and then about 4 o'clock, they head back to the hills. So, I usually see them, I'd say 4 times a week, right sitting on my deck, right over my house. And I say that
Fantastic.
to people. I'm like, "I love to look at the monkeys." And they're like, "What are you talking about monkeys?" And I'm like, "I live in Costa Rica." So I'd say monkeys. And I've seen a few sloths not near where I am, but I travel. I like to travel in Costa Rica in May just because it's a little bit off season, but it's a lot cheaper to travel. But it's beautiful weather still.
Perfect. Yeah, there isn't too many bad weather months. There are too many bad weather months there, are there?
Well, the reason I'm in Vermont now is because this is sort of the rainy season, a little early, but August, September, and October will be
The
rainy.
rainy season.
Yep.
Okay.
But I love
Which
the rainy season, like, that has its you know,
it's
it
charming. Yeah.
it's charming for me too because I
You're
make art, and it's kinda, like, rainy, but, it's so green and lush down there now because it has been raining.
Yeah, it is. So I've my first trip I just took recently. When was I there? February. It was
Where'd you go?
we went to the East Coast
Oh, okay, I haven't been over there.
and yeah, and I'm trying to remember the name of the town. Uvita? Uvita. Gorgeous place, gorgeous jungles and beautiful
UVita, UVITA?
UVITA.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
I've been
there
down there.
were we had a friend who had built a house there and they rented it in the top of a hill with our own,
Just
incredible vista of the whole ocean. And we saw immediately toucans flying, monkeys howling. Many locusts were flying into the glass every night, which was kind of sad. I poor locusts. But it was just a paradise of flora and fauna and animals. Unbelievable. It was
yeah,
just a
I've
paradise.
actually been to UVita, and I don't know if you got to a little town called Dominical. Did you
We
check
went
that
to
out?
Dominical, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that little town, and
Yeah, there's just so many every town has its own energy and different groups and gatherings of people, and the food was really great, and the fruit was fabulous, and the supermarket was interesting.
right, right,
Very little bread to choose from, nothing or not too many things organic, not everything is organic, so they don't have to label it.
right, right.
It's not a California experience. What I was interesting was the eggs were fresh, so they were not refrigerated. They're just there on the shelf because they come
I
in
know
every
that
morning.
my mind, like, I was just like, stuff like
Yeah,
that, it was just like, "Whoa." So, it is a simple way to live, and how I live is I shop at the farmers markets, I shop like a local, I go to local grocery stores, I don't go to the American, Canadian grocery stores, so I've sort of know now what butcher to go to and what sort of, so I've learned a lot and I just have a very simple, wonderful life. I have friends that come down and visit me. My kids come down quite a bit. I think I actually see my kids who are adults more since I moved to Costa Rica
I
than I
bet.
saw before because like my son and his girlfriend came down for like 3 weeks and we did a lot of traveling
Oh,
and
that's fabulous. You
yay,
get to see a
we go,
lot.
yeah. So yeah, I feel like, people are like, don't you miss this, don't you miss that? And I'm like, I see my kids a lot. They come down all the time.
I would be there every week,
That's what I'm
every couple of
saying.
months if my mother lived in Costa Rica.
And my daughter's
Why not?
self-employed massage therapist, so she has a light week coming up. If she can catch a cheap flight, she'll just come down for a week, and,
Yeah, it's not that far, Costa Rica
no,
from us. No, the
no,
East Coast. It's 5 hours.
5
It's
hours, yeah,
it's really quick.
yeah.
So what I heard you share about, which I think I want to focus on a little bit, is you found this place intuitively a
I
long
think so.
time, a
I
long
think
time ago, and then your life threw you off a cliff, and when it did, you said, "I want beauty in my life. I want beauty back, and I want to have fun and be myself. I don't want to wear labels anymore. I don't want to please other people, and it's fine that I care deeply about my kids, and I'm going to always do that. They'll love me anyway. I'm going to Costa Rica."
right, right.
It's
And,
great.
I was feeling like after I had been through sort of all that stuff, like you said, I mean, for me, I was missing the joy. I wanted to wake up every morning feeling full of joy, but also I wanted to feel like every day was going to be a new adventure. And I don't mean rock climbing or jumping off waterfalls. I mean, maybe going into a new local shop where this woman makes this incredible, banana bread or, it doesn't have to be like a life altering giant thing, but I wanted every day, and I do this every day. I try to do something new, something small, something new. So my little drive in my golf cart is through this very, very local town where, I see the same older guys sitting out with their dogs on benches. And a lot of times if I'm going to the grocery store, I'll pick up like a couple bottles of Coke and drop it off to them. So then I'll stop and, chat as much as we can. But like I feel like I'm sort of, I'm trying to respect that I moved there and I understand about gentrification. And so I'm trying to do the best I can with respecting their culture and what they're doing without, sort of putting my stamp on it. It's
Right.
their country,
Yeah, well,
you
and
know?
I feel you're respectful and you're there to learn about them. You're not there to teach them how to be us.
And I see a lot of posts down there from Americans and Canadians, like I'm still on the chats that I'm on down there. And somebody yesterday said, "When are the 4th of July celebrations?" And they're like, "September 15th is Costa Rica's Independence Day. It's not July 4th." Like September 15th, they do the whole
Yeah.
shebang, the parades and the fireworks. I mean, they do it all. It's just it's different. So I'm trying not to move down there and expect Costa Rica to accommodate me from the United States. I'm expecting myself to fit into their culture,
Well, that says a lot about you. It
you know.
does. And
So,
that so when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking all the listeners, and there are many, are going to want to ask if they can contact you and check in with you when they come to Costa Rica and look around and get your advice or input. Are you comfortable with that idea?
well, I just actually Cameo reached out to me. Do you know what Cameo is?
Yes, of course I do.
Yeah, so they can go on my they can go on my Instagram, go to my bio. If they want to talk to me, they can click on Cameo because I could spend hours every night, and I've made several videos where like I'm not a travel guide. People will be like,
Good
"Where's
idea not to take on what you can't do.
where's
Good.
the best place to go?" And I'm like, "I don't know you. There's mountains, there's beach towns, there's surf towns, there's bougie towns, there's everything that we've got over here." So for somebody to say, "Where's the best place to go?" I
That
don't know
doesn't
you.
make sense.
I
No.
can't I can't help you. So, I can say, and people say, "Can I live on this down there?" Well, if you live in the mountains and you shop like a local and you eat like a local, you eat rice and beans and fresh fruit and fresh produce, yeah, you maybe could live like that, down there. But I
Don't
can't,
don't ask Sue that question.
don't ask me this question because I don't know what your lifestyle is. I don't know what you're comfortable with. I know
I wouldn't want those questions either, Sue. How about just where they can say see your artwork and maybe buy your artwork? How's that?
that's good. So I would say I do have a website
Well,
for
this
my
is good. I'm
artwork.
gonna put this on the posting when I do the social go ahead, tell us.
So it's www.sue, because somebody took Sue in Costa Rica, so I had to add another Sue. Sue in Costa Rica, all lower.com.
Great.
And then I also have my Instagram page, which at my bio there's a few other links of things that I'm doing that actually my daughter just refreshed that for me the other night and I can't even remember what it is, but that would be another way to get in touch with me.
Great. That's the best thing to help yourself enjoy Costa Rica, enjoy Sue's artwork. And it's refreshing when someone says no. It's like, "You know what? I am not everyone's tour guide."
Well, I like to help people and, I will answer a question, but I can't answer a question, where's the best place to live or can I live on X number of dollars because
You don't know. You
I
don't
don't
know.
know,
No.
like, so I know for me, I'm living on a teacher's pension and I know that I live better down there, and 100% my quality of life is 400 times better than it would be in the United States. So for
That's a
me,
lot. That's a lot.
that's my trade-off. I think actually being in Vermont, I think food is less expensive at the grocery stores than in Costa Rica. But then again, I'm not going to a ton of grocery stores. I like to shop. It's almost like European. Like I shop for the day, what I need for the day. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So
No, you're
I'll
not
just
trying to find the bulk purchases,
no,
this is
no,
for you.
right.
Yeah. No, and that's realistic. So Sue, I did look at your artwork. I will order something. You remember there's an artist in Cat I live in Woodstock, New York. Do you know what that is? That's where they had the big festival, but it wasn't
Yeah,
here.
that was kind of a bomb, right?
It was yeah, I was it's before my time a little bit. I was a little kid when that happened, but
The real Woodstock.
the real Woodstock, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, no, I
wow.
live in Woodstock, not Woodstock, Vermont, Woodstock, New York.
Okay, okay. Oh, that's
And so
beautiful.
you're in Vermont, so we're in similar places
Yeah,
actually in
definitely,
terms of the vibe.
definitely.
And, so what was my point? It is an artist community. It is, this feels like a place of expats from the world at large because people come here to sort of retire, which means make art and
Right, right, right.
create, community things. There's a lot of community here, which I think also happens in Vermont. And Costa Rica feels like that is possible too. Is there a really great community there for you?
Yes, I definitely have a great community, and the community is very diverse. I do volunteering down there. I teach art a couple Saturdays a month to local children at the community center. And, I find that extremely satisfying. And I'm very busy. I feel very much part of a community down there.
That's great. That's great, Sue. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Is there anything else you wanted to share that I didn't ask about?
I don't think so. I mean, can you think of anything or?
No, I just think when I see you on Instagram, I smile. So please check her out on Instagram. I'm going to post I'm going to advertise, I guess what you would call it on socials when this podcast comes out. And I will attach her website address and her Instagram page, and you guys should check it out. It's really, she's just a bubbling fountain of happiness. See that smile, and no one's going to see it on this, but that smile is it tells me everything. You
Okay, also the smile was $17,000 brand new in Costa Rica. It would have been 120 here.
well,
It's all new teeth.
that's another reason to live in Costa Rica.
Dr. Ricardo Lopez, my dentist.
I
I
that you
need
should put on your Instagram. Go see this dentist.
I've done a couple TikToks about him. He's a
I'm very
gem.
impressed with the work. It's beautiful.
And I
Yes, it
will
would be
say
over
this,
$100,000 in the US.
I had cataract surgery down there, medical, spot on. Dental, people go down there for dental vacations. It's cheaper for you to fly to Costa Rica, get an Airbnb for a month, stay there, and get extensive dental work done in a month, and then fly back than to get it done if you have no dental insurance in the United States.
Yeah, it's true. Well,
Literally,
even
it's
if you
all
have
new.
insurance, it's still an
Yeah,
enormous
like, look
amount
at
of
this
money.
smile, like, that's why I'm smiling. If you saw me a year ago, I would have been like this, but now I'm like,
Well, you did it. That's good. You're living the life you were meant to live, and it
I
took a
think
little
so. I
while, but
keep
here you
smiling.
are.
It was a hard path at times, but I think everybody goes through that and just keep pushing through and,
Yeah. Yeah,
try
we
to
all do. We
stay
all have the
positive.
dark night, and then we get
Yep.
to have the bright light again because we don't let
So,
darkness take us.
it's good.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I have one more question I did want to ask. If you have did you consider yourself a spiritual person before you moved to Costa Rica?
Think, I've always been a spiritual, intuitive person. So, like I said, I knew when I was vacationing down there that I was immediately drawn to the people. And in my head, I mean, I was in my late 30s and early 40s with little kids, but in my head, I was like, I want to end up here. I want to retire here. And, then I thought that was not going to happen for me. And then I thought, well, why not? Like, why not? And so I kept pushing forward and I made it happen.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm very inspired by your story. I always feel like at every age and every part, no matter what our circumstances, there's always a way to come back to being your childlike self again. There's always a way to rebirth that child, kind of hug her, bring her forward and say, let's keep playing in life. I want to keep playing. Sue,
I
thank you so
I
much.
feel like that's what I'm doing. Thank you so much. It's been
Yeah,
wonderful.
that's what you're doing. Cool.
Okay.
And if I go down, which I will be traveling there again, I will, what do I call it? DM you on Instagram and maybe we'll get a
Yeah.
coffee. Maybe we'll grab a coffee. And how do you pronounce the name of your town? Ocotal?
Alcatel, Ocotal, Alcatel.
Okay, Ocotil.
It's about
All
10
right, I
minutes
haven't been
outside of
there.
Playa del Coco.
All right, well, I'll reach out and then we'll grab a coffee. All right.
Okay. Sounds great.
All right, Sue, take care.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
We want to thank the following people: Jennifer Maidman for original music. Listen to her on iTunes and Spotify. True English of Upstate Podcast Studio for sound and recording engineering. And all our executive producers. See you next time.